Postpartum psychosis can happen anytime during the first year of your baby's life. I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want anybody to think I was crazy. I was scared. Some of the medications caused me to go blind. So when a thought came to my mind when I was bathing her to drown her, it kept staying there and staying there. And a warm feeling to do something evil. You'll get through it. You just have to be open and honest and don't hide anything. For saving my life, basically, because like I said, I was suicidal a few times.
Hi guys, today I am here with special guest, my mom. When she was pregnant with both myself and my brother, younger brother, she went through a time frame of postpartum psychosis. So she's going to be here today sharing her story and talking to everybody a little bit about what that's like and what you can do if you feel like you're experiencing these symptoms as well. So, what is your definition of postpartum depression or postpartum psychosis and the difference between the two?
To me, depression is you're just sad and you kind of don't want to bond with your baby type thing. And there's also the baby blues. Everybody goes through that usually a couple of weeks right after the baby's born. You're tearful, but you get over that. It goes away pretty quickly. But then postpartum psychosis can happen anytime during the first year of your baby's life. And mine happened when Tamara was 2 months old. I had a day off from work and was watching TV, and it was around Halloween. They were talking about Halloween movies. And of course they had Jason and they had Freddy Krueger. And somehow they got instilled into my head. And I started thinking about them all the time, and it just got kind of weird. But I kind of let it go, and then I didn't do anything about it. But I couldn't sleep. I wasn't eating. I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want anybody to think I was crazy. I was scared. But I went about my business thinking it's just going to pass. But it got worse to the point where I felt I was going to hurt Tamara. I was having visions of drowning her, visions of burning her, visions of stabbing her. So I finally couldn't take it, and her dad was at work, so I called a friend of mine who worked with me. She was a nurse's aide, and she was like a mom to me kind of, and I said, come and get Tamara. Come, please take Tamara from me. There's something going on, I don't understand it, so please come and take her. Then Sue called my good friend Laura, who was a registered nurse, and we worked together. She was like my supervisor. She came over, started talking to me, and she called my OB/GYN right away. They transferred me. She said, take her to Park Place, which was a psychiatric unit, to be evaluated. That's where I met Dr. Linda Harper, who was my psychiatrist, and I was admitted right away. And one of the psychiatrists I saw thought it was all in my head, that I was just kind of making it up, and I knew it wasn't right. I didn't like him at all. But anyway, Dr. Harper was with me through the whole thing, and during that year I tried different medications, had a lot of med changes. Some of the medications caused me to go blind, because when they give you an antipsychotic drug, you have, you're feeling like you're jumping out of your skin, and it was narrowing, and there was an empty spot in my brain. It was weird. It was like I had a hole in my brain because I couldn't. That was taking care of the psychosis, the medication, but I was having lots of side effects. But I was not still to be left alone, so then my younger sister came to stay with me. I lost the bond with Tamara. It was like she wasn't my child. I did the mother things and all that stuff, and then when I talked to Dr. Harper about it, she said it was my way of protecting her. If I didn't love her, I couldn't hurt her. So basically, this went on for a year. I went back in the hospital twice, once for some medication adjustments, and then another time I did try to commit suicide and sliced my wrist. And one of my friends happened to stop by at the house to check in on me. Tamara was toddling around. She was playing. She was almost a year. And instead of hurting her, I hurt myself, basically, and I didn't even feel it. It was like I was numb. It was like I was taking that razor to my wrist and didn't even feel any pain. So, but these are things that you go through, but the thing is you have to tell people, because meds don't always work, but now, with today's, this was 30 years ago, so there was some really hardcore antipsychotic drugs that could cause permanent damage. I was fortunate enough that mine didn't, because I had a good psychiatrist who knew her drugs, who knew when to take me off something and try something different. I became obsessive compulsive too. I had those kind of tendencies too. So when a thought came to my mind when I was bathing her to drown her, it kept staying there and staying there and staying there. But they finally came up with a drug that controlled that. There's a lot more. There's good drugs out there now that don't have the side effects that mine did back 30 years ago. Oh yeah, one time, yeah, when I was in the hospital, I think that was my first day.
You were released and you said no.
No, I got to go home for a weekend visit. They released me for the day to go home for a weekend visit, and Dad had brought Tamara, and of course I sat in the back seat, she was in the front seat. Back then, that's the way it was.
I was just going to say, wait.
Yeah, I know, but back then, that's the way it was. And when I was sitting in the back seat, I looked at Tamara, and all I could see was she looked like a little demon to me. She had but this was early on in my psychosis. But that's basically some of the horrific things you go through, and it's just a matter of...
Did you go home that weekend, or did you?
I just went for a couple hours. It was a couple hours home on a leave. I wasn't, yeah. And then after that, I didn't go back home until my meds were a little bit better. I think I was there a week and a half, and they let me do a weekend leave kind of thing for a couple hours.
So you didn't have any early onset symptoms? You would just say that it happened at once?
All at once. It was like I said, I was watching TV.
Over Halloween?
Yeah, Halloween. And to this day, I will not watch a horror movie. To this day, ever since then, I will, even though I'm fine, I will never watch a horror movie.
So this character from the movie is the one who's telling you what to do?
Yes.
And you kept hearing his voice, or did you actually see him?
I had actually visions. That's why I had psychotic tendencies, because I actually had those visions.
You would see him walking in and talking to you.
No, well, he was just in my head. He was just like, and it was like, it gave you it's hard to explain, but it was like a warm feeling to do something evil. But in my heart, it was telling me.
You knew it was wrong.
It was wrong, yes.
So it was like this pull.
Yeah, so of course, during that time, I didn't sleep a lot or whatever, but it was probably one of the most...
Were you scared to be home alone? Were you better if Dad was home?
Yeah, probably, but I want to say, once the meds were pretty well stable, and I'd say once you were 6 months old, I didn't have all the visions and all that stuff like I did, or the urges, because that's when they found that drug for me, because I was obsessive compulsive over these visions and over these feelings. It was different. They knew once I got pregnant again, and I did try to back in the day, I tried to decided that I didn't want any more children, and they wouldn't do a tubal ligation because of my age. I was too young. You had to have at least 2 children, so they wouldn't go ahead and of course I never asked your dad if he would, but they wouldn't do that with me. So, because they said I may regret it, this type of thing. I think I had 2 consults with 2 different OBGYNs about it. once he was born, they were gonna automatically, my OBGYN, they knew my history, they were gonna put me on something right away once he was born. Let's see. But with Ryan, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was more controllable, but the only thing I wanted to do was take him out and put him in the trash bag. Put him in the trash. That was the only evil thought I had. I think one other time when he was like 6 months old, I had one where about stabbing. But as soon as I talked to my doctor, they adjusted my meds, it was fine. And then once he reached a year old, the same thing. I went off the meds, everything's fine, both my kids were healthy. And then I was able to rebond with both my kids and be a mom and love them, and from there it was okay. My younger sister, who came to help me during with Tamara, she came and stayed with me, and she was in the medical field also, as well as I, but she was a medical technologist. She became pregnant.
She had it during her pregnancy.
And she had it during her pregnancy. I want to say she was 4 months. Her and Ryan, Mallory and Ryan are the same age, so we got pregnant about the same time. But thank goodness she knew what to do, because she started having it earlier in pregnancy. I want to say she was 4 or 5 months pregnant when she had it. And she was hospitalized. And
I remember she told me she thought she was giving birth to the devil.
The devil's
like kid.
Yeah, so she wanted to.
She was like scratching on the inside, and it was crazy.
Yeah, and the other thing was, hers started off, she was just chopping vegetables for dinner for Joe and her, her husband. And she wanted to, then her mind was telling her to stab herself in the stomach. So she knew then, and she told Joe right away, and they put her in the hospital. She spent three weeks probably in the hospital to do med adjustments and stuff. None of them had any side effects from the drugs that we had to take to prevent it. And like I said, drugs now are a lot different. They're a lot safer. My main thing is don't hold back. My problem was it probably went on for almost a week before I told anybody, and it just got progressively worse. Whereas if I would have told somebody then, maybe it wouldn't have been so drastic for me. And
so what are some things that would hold somebody back from talking to somebody about this?
Because you're thinking, oh my God, they're going to take my baby away from me because I'm crazy. They're gonna put me, they're gonna put me in jail, child abuse, all kinds of things go through your head. And then plus you're scared to tell anybody you're thinking these thoughts, because they're going to put you in the psychiatric ward and you're never going to get out again, that type of thing. So it was fear more than anything, and then I didn't even realize that much about it until it actually happened to me. And then, of course, I learned everything about it. And at the end of everything, Dr. Harper, even when I had Tamara, she would go to my appointments with me. I would go to Dr. Harper's office at least once a week for a long time. I guess my case was pretty bad that she asked me at the end when I was discharged if I wouldn't mind her doing a whole case study on me, what I went through and all the medication and all the things, if she could do it, so she could promote it and help other people deal with the psychotic part of postpartum depression. Dad went separately because Dad was freaking out. Her dad was freaking out. He didn't know. He was blaming himself. He was thinking it was, something in our relationship that caused me to be like this. So he had to go through some therapy with Dr. Harper also, because there was a lot of guilt and a lot of other things for him too. But he ended up having to be the mama and the papa, really, for Tamara for quite a while, till he could feel safe that I was able to take care of her without having any problems. That it was a strain, but you have to be truthful with them, and men have to understand this is not any fault of the woman. It's all about hormonal changes in the body. And I was told that it could come back. It could be worse with the second child, or it could be better. And it could come back even during menopause with with the hormone changes, because once you go through menopause, but thankfully none of that happened. So it all has to do with hormonal changes, basically, in the chemical imbalance in your brain. And me, as being a nurse, I was freaking out having to take the antipsychotics because I knew I had taken care of patients before that were on some of these drugs, and how they ended up having these tics and the tongue coming out and all this stuff. So it was kind of freaking me out, so I really didn't want to take them. And it was a matter of Dr. Harper educated me and saying, you know, if you had diabetes, Margina, or if you had heart disease, you'd have to take these medications. And there's nothing wrong with you. It's a physical problem in the chemical imbalance of your brain at this time. So this is why you need to take these drugs.
What advice would you like to give to other women experiencing postpartum blues, depression, or psychosis?
You'll get through it. You just have to be open and honest and don't hide anything. If you have those thoughts, get help right away. Nobody's going to punish you or take your baby away from you. The quicker you get help, the quicker you recover. And the quicker you have people there to help you. I had issues probably with my my other siblings, because they didn't understand what I was going through, because I was the first one really that went through it. They were thinking, like, why is she doing that, you know? Or, you know, and even co-workers. It took a long time for them to understand this. It truly is a disease, and it does happen. And once I was in a hospital, I felt safe. I couldn't harm her. So if they recommend hospitalization, do it. You know, you figure out the cost later, which we did. I eventually had to pay. My insurance only covered a small portion of it. Back then there wasn't a lot of psych in your insurance and type things, but I was able to pay all that off once I was recovered and once I was back to work. So don't let money hold you back, because there's no reason. Do whatever you can to get help, because it's better for you and your baby in the long run. I think there was the one lady in Texas that I remember her, she had 4 children. I think she drowned all 4 of them with her last birth of her last baby. And I blamed the psychiatrist in that case from reading what I read, and the husband. Once you know that you have a history, and he kept wanting to have more children, like I said, my psychiatrist told me it could be worse, much worse, the second child, or it could be better. They don't know. But hers progressively got worse to where she killed all 4 of her children. And instead of her going to jail, as far as I'm concerned, I think it was in Texas, she got life. It should have been the husband and the psychiatrist who was not properly treating her like he should have been and following up with her. I just was lucky to have Dr. Harper. I mean, she even gave Craig, your dad, her personal phone number to call her at any time. Give a lot of credit to her for saving my life, basically, because like I said, I was suicidal a few times. I'll always remember her and always will be thankful that she came into my life and got me through this crisis in my life. Yeah, in fact, she's still working. She does research now. I mean, yeah, here in the Orlando area, she was. But don't ever be afraid to tell anybody.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in on my mom's story. And like she said, if you do feel like you're experiencing any of these symptoms or having any of these thoughts, then definitely reach out for help to your friends, to your family, or to your doctors. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.